Okay, it's Bank Holiday Monday here at Romford Film Festival. I'm here with two of the filmmakers behind two of the shorts we've just shown. Would you like to just introduce yourself and your roles within the production, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie Lauren. I'm the producer and actor behind STI, Sexually Transmitted Introductions.
Hi, I'm Tom Paul Martin. I'm the writer-director behind Where Are All the Gay Superheroes?
Thank you very much for joining us. Let's, first of all, simple question, how did the concept of the film, or how did you become involved in the first place with the film? Do you want to go for that?
Absolutely. I had worked with Harris, the writer-director on STI, on a stage production in London. We were both actors, or are both actors. So he approached me with the opportunity to try and make something because it was, post-COVID, or during strikes. We thought we might as well have some gung-ho spirit and try and do something ourselves. This story I thought was an excellent way to start making films. It was for Harris and I both our first film. So the idea of having one location, comedy, with a wider meaning for the UK felt like an achievable goal. I'm not sure how he'll feel about me sharing this, but it's based on a true story, which if you see the film is quite uncomfortable emotion. So yes, as it says at the beginning, it's a warts and all true story.
Literally, yeah.
Tom? Mine is also based on a true story.
Excellent.
I'm joking.
At the weekend, you're a superhero. Is that
Yeah. The film came from a few different places, but I think one was that over COVID and in the wake of the events of everything that was happening in 2020 and 2021, I remember reading a bulletin that Warner Brothers were developing a quote-unquote Black Superman movie, which obviously, with my cynical goggles on, knew would never go anywhere. It was kind of just for clout. But I remember thinking that's really cool. I remember thinking Superman is such an iconic and kind of like omnipresent character and such a sort of base archetype. It'd be very interesting to explore that through like a different lens. And at the same time, or around that time, I remember thinking, I could not imagine reading that bulletin for like a quote unquote gay Superman movie. Like to hear that sounds like a joke. So I thought I should explore why that felt like a joke and how justified was I in feeling that way, and how much of that kind of came from me and how much of that comes from the world around me.
I know both of your films have both played at other festivals. What kind of feedback have you got? What's been the most pleasing bit of feedback that you've had? Do you want to go first, Natalie?
Sure. Yes, we're in month, I think about 8 or 9 of showing the film now, which has been incredible. And given it's our first film, we didn't have a huge amount of experience to know what to expect, but it's been received incredibly well. We've been very busy in our spare time travelling around because I always want to try and attend every festival I can. I think something that really sticks out, obviously the best thing, I was at Film Festival this weekend in a new place, and when that film runs and you get some of the early jokes and the audience realise it's a comedy and they start laughing, and that was a surprise in France when the film had been translated and with subtitles, but even then, even in a cinema full of very serious cinema-going French people, just the laughter that came through with that was just wonderful and makes everything feel really good for us. So I think that's probably my highlight.
Yeah, I mean, my film is not a comedy, but it's got jokes in the first half, and that's kind of like based on where the laughs are or aren't. That sort of sets the tone for how comfortable I'm going to be for the screen. There's like an Adele joke halfway through, and I'm like, if people laugh at that, then I feel like we've got them. We're further on. I think we're in June, so we're at a year now. We're at 1 year. And it's played at...
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a marathon. It's gone well. I mean, the feedback at festivals generally seems, very friendly, which is nice. There have been a few... Q&A has been really fun, actually, because there have been a couple of kind of, sort of provocative questions, which I like, because the film is ultimately designed to kind of be a bit of a conversation starter or continuer. But it's been a really great process. It's been my first sort of proper short to send to festivals, and I mean, I'm sure you've had the same thing, Natalie. It's a really eye-opening experience, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think did you do your festival selections and choosing and research stuff yourself? Yeah,
did you?
I did.
Yeah.
It's a marathon,
Yeah.
and but yeah, when as you said, being able to come here and see it on a big screen with a great audience, nothing feels better than that. So it's really wicked. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. How do you pick what festivals to play at? What's your strategy?
I'm a bit of a tactical type, I guess. So with the producer hat on for STI, I think it's about knowing what the film's strengths are, both on and off camera. So speaking about STI purely, it's a comedy, so that rules in and out a whole bunch of festivals. I think it's got quite a lot of like British humour about it, so that again rules in some territories that you might want to target. On top of that, believe it or not, and this is the extent to which the festivals exist in the world, there are a few that are dedicated to sexual health, which is a bit of a no-brainer with a film like STI. It was our first film, so you had some opportunities to go down with the first-time filmmaker kind of route. And then depending on if you would love to qualify somewhere or something like that, there's a whole bunch of lists. So I think, narrowing down all of those and making a strategic choice was my personal process, as well as places that I'm from or the writer's from. Maybe what I'd seen online, that's a big one. I don't know about you, but I'm always like screen grabbing when someone gets a new selection. I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this before, let's go for that. And then coming to festivals as well. I'm here today because I met Chris and Spencer at the previous festival. Spencer was talking with the AIFF about festivals, and because of that I'd heard of Romford and applied, and really happy to be here 6 months or so later.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, not that dissimilar. You look for your niches first because you think that gives you the best shot. So queer film festivals for sure, but also I just literally typed the word superhero into Film Freeway and saw what showed up. And there's a few Comic-Con festivals which a bit I thought could kind of go either way. I thought they could either find it, because I thought really the particular superhero diehards would probably look at the film and look at all of kind of general details that we get wrong or can't recreate. But Comic-Con conventions have been really, really welcoming of the film. And then I was a co-director on a short documentary that did get a film festival strategy. So I looked at that, and I looked at the festivals that they'd suggested, and even though it's for a documentary, that was for an LGBTQ documentary, so that there was some crossover there. And then you just kind of spend a long time, days, just scrolling through Film Freeway, being like, could this be me? Okay, great.
Yeah, so I guess for you it's important not just to target those kind of festivals. Like, were you ever, I don't know, fearful maybe that festivals that weren't dedicated to LGBT wouldn't accept the film? Is that ever a consideration for you?
To be really brutally honest, what I've realised through distributing this film through festivals is that I don't think I realised quite who I'd made the film for when I first started releasing it. And what I mean by that is that I think my personal take watching it, because it now belongs to whoever watches it, but my take now is that actually it's made for kind of like a pretty mainstream audience. It's not actually really made so much for a queer audience. I want queer people to watch it, and obviously there's a really important thing in there about queer people sort of seeing themselves in a role that they don't normally occupy, and also there being something specific about gay men as well in a role that is quite traditionally masculine. Even today the superhero genre is still obviously kind of everywhere, and it's never explicit about this, but it has a real part to play in the way that masculinity is presented today, because it is predominantly men, and also men who sort of look like a particular kind of thing. So that was part of the seed of how it got made. But watching it, and in particular, there's like a speech towards the end where one of the characters reels off a list of all of the sort of spaces in which gay men don't feel particularly welcome. And I realised, that's really for a mainstream audience. So I hoped that the film would find a home in non-LGBTQ film festivals. And actually, to be honest, I think it's probably been accepted to more non-queer film festivals than queer film festivals. In a way, I think it's sort of it's a slightly tricky one to program, and I think that it's almost, because it is so sort of general in its presentation of queer people or gay men, it doesn't go into some of the sort of more particular details of queer life, and that I think means it's sort of a bit out of step with certain LGBTQ film festivals, which makes it better for mainstream ones.
Were there any audience questions at this point? Pop your hand up. Yep, one here.
I I know I touched on this with Natalie before, so I think both your films are 15 minutes long, right? So
14:44.
14:54, yeah.
Not that you count.
We know.
So I was involved in a film, and we always said 10 to 15, and then the director was obsessed with getting it under 10, and he did, and it's great, and the pace is great. It's more of a kind of thriller, horror type film, so the pace is a bit more fast. But I'm curious to hear you speak to your film's length from a point of view of the narrative yourself, now that you look at it, and whether you wanted it longer or shorter, and then obviously from film festival programming and any feedback you've had in that regard, how you might do it differently next time if you did that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a conversation that Harris, the writer-director, and I had quite a lot. He wrote an incredibly tight and wordy script that was brilliant to read, in some ways even funnier because you can see all the wordplay on the page that you might not have time to digest on the screen. And we shot it religiously to that script, and the editing process was quite eye-opening because despite the fact that it read really well and we performed it on set really well, on our first assembly edit it fell completely flat and we were in a dire state of like, how did this happen? And things to do with like the timing and the pacing are so important in that. I speak on behalf of both of us when I say that I think if we were to, if we had the financial opportunity, we would take some of the air out of it, and we both know the places where we feel like we could be a bit tighter. But it's hard when you're going through that process of post-production and you're on the clock, as it were, with your editor, and you've got sound queued up. I think from a scheduling perspective, obviously shorter is a bit easier. We've had one festival recently where they've said, you know, we really love your film, but we just can't find a space for it in the programme. They're offering us to screen it online instead, and if something cancels, then we'll get in. So obviously that's one that I know about that has been just slightly difficult. But so for some people, I think the film has got to be what the film has got to be. I think STI, we could take a bit of air out of it without losing the message too much, and maybe that would increase the likelihood if someone's got, oh god, quick math, they're doing an hour block, 60 minutes, and they've got 48 minutes or something, and they need 46 minutes to be able to program ours. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That was very much my experience too. I wrote the script, and this is a growing pain, isn't it, from doing these things for the first time. But I wrote it was 10 pages, and I was like, I will not go over 10 pages because that equals 10 minutes, you know, without question. And I was so sure from writing it that it was going to be a 10-minute film, and of course it's nowhere near that. It is 15 minutes. It's a real goal for my next project to get it around the 10-minute mark or under, because I think you can think of it from a festival strategy point of view, and I'm sure there is real value in that. Kate Herron, who's an amazing writer-director, I went to a talk by her, and she talked about, she was the showrunner for Loki season 1, and she started out with a bunch of short films that did really well, and she just recommended that you keep it under 5 minutes. And you can go on YouTube and watch her short films, and there's one in particular which is under 5 minutes long, and it's just this sort of dark comedy that takes place in an STI clinic, funnily enough.
Gotta watch that.
and you can see, you know, why it would be a really quick sell to festival programmers. But I think also beyond that, it's just a good creative challenge, isn't it, to cut something down. I spoke to a filmmaker last year whose film I really loved, this director, actor as well, called Tom Petty, who made a film called Ticker. And I was talking to him about how he wrote it, and he said that he just started with one version of the script and he just started cutting and putting it down. And I think that's probably a very, very difficult but necessary stage in production, isn't it? Yeah,
there's a lot of advantage to it, obviously, but I think my advice, and I'm probably sure that you would agree with me, is that not every film needs to be as short and full of brevity as possible. It depends on what your outcome is. If you want to get all the laurels for your social media or whatever, get it in front of people to hopefully finance a second film, maybe you're more advantageous, or it will be more advantageous to have a shorter one because people can watch it, people can program it. But plenty of films need a longer runtime to tell their story, and if what you're doing is coming from more the story perspective of doing justice to an experience or a person or an idea that you've had, then make it 20 minutes, make it 25 minutes, make it 30. What's the short film for Romford? What's the dead, like?
50.
50, 50?
Yeah.
Make it 50 minutes.
We're
These
not
guys
fussy.
are going to program it for you. I mean, yeah, like we saw some brilliant ones. So I just wanted to give a little space to, like, yes, it could be strategic to have a shorter, tighter film. Yes, it's great for budget and great for your creative challenges, but not all short films have to be less than 10 minutes to be good.
Yeah, because there's a film out at the moment called Sister Wives, which is doing amazingly well, and that's like 35 minutes long, I think.
Yeah,
And that's
and
won like best drama at a ton of festivals. So there are no rules, really.
Yes. It depends on what your goals are. Sorry.
That's right. Chris?
What was the best thing you learned whilst filming your projects?
Gosh, I learned it was the first time, as I've said, so I learned so much. Everything from like first aid to what a file codec is. I never thought that being a filmmaker was actually being a computer scientist. Like, this is crazy. And DCPs and all of that sort of stuff. I learned a lot of very like practical skills from like what it takes to organize and budget a film. It's kind of like starting a company every single time. Getting everyone organised and on the day and there and safe and well and doing good work. What's the best thing I learned? Can you jump in on that one?
Well, I'm just hearing the message in my head right now, being like, I learned nothing, but I'm sure I did learn something. I guess you kind of put it into practice on the next project, don't you? I think I learned not to do too many jobs by yourself, but I did already know that, and I think it's just being in that. On that first film, it's harder, I think, to get buy-in from people because you don't necessarily have that foundation. So I think a big thing next time is trying to get more people to occupy more of the kind of behind-the-scenes roles.
I think one thing actually I would say that I'm really grateful to STI, the film, for is about the power of like strong branding and marketing on a film. I never really thought about them as sort of little marketing, products. But that can actually be really fun and not a horrible thing like I just made it sound.
Do you know what? Can I ask a question? With regard to festivals, can you say like what your approach is when it comes to like approaching festivals or cover letters or anything like that? 'Cause I think I might have learned something there.
Ooh. So that's an interesting one. Cover letters from film. We just speak about Film Freeway. For SDI, I was like writing all my like heartfelt things every festival about how much I loved them and why I loved them, and that I was a female and I was under 30, and this about sexual health is really important, but it's also a comedy. And then I heard that no one actually reads them, so I've just actually 2 or 3 days ago begun submitting for my next short, which is very short. It's 5:33, so I took the advice. And I haven't written a single cover letter actually on that at all. But advice about like approaching festivals, as I think the emails that we got from Romford were brilliant about, chat to everybody, meet everybody, come with an open mind, take some photos, watch some films, ask, hey, what did you think of the dogs or something? Yeah. And you never know who you're going to meet or what great idea you're going to have.
I attended like an online like masterclass from the guys at Slam Dance Film Festival, and then they have like an associated company. And this was quite early on in my festival run as well, and especially when you first start getting those no's, you're like, oh my god, what can I do? And they said, you know, you should really not just write a cover letter, but you should actually like reach out. You should find out who the programmers are and send them an email. And what I think I've learned, and I'm happy to be told otherwise, I think that's actually really stalker behaviour, and that no one actually really wants.
We get enough emails, believe me.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you
do it once. That's fine, but don't like.
I think the exception is, I think for Worcester Film Festival, which is basically the city where I grew up, I think it's a bit different if you've got that personal connection, because you can reach out and be like, by the way, your festival's happening in the cinema where I watched my first film, so I would love to be part of it. And because then otherwise, it's just, it feels. There's something fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Written by Spencer in an email that came out to us, which is that. Sometimes filmmakers have a certain desperation, which can be really off-putting. I thought, oh, okay, this guy knows what's up.
He's been around the block.
I've been seen.
He has been around the block.
He should see our film.
When you see your film up there, what's the most proud moment of it, or your favourite part? Maybe a shot or a line or anything like that.
I like the ending of our film. I think it's our film. There's a lot of putting things in places for the first half, and then if you're good with that, yeah, I think it really kind of takes off with the relationship between the two characters in the last part. And I really love the ending of it. I think it's quite simple, but the way that our DOP filmed it is really beautiful. The shot tracking Rory as he stands up, and he's just got this incredible energy. I could talk for days about the actors. I just absolutely love them so much because they gave so much to what could otherwise be quite a silly, sort of unserious story. So yeah, the ending, I think.
I also thought you had a fantastic ending, and I also thought the DOP did an incredible job.
Yeah.
The film looks so beautiful. The colouring on it, the VFX on it, like the performances, the production design, like, yeah. Well done.
The mood board was just lots of neon lights and stuff, and he turned that into something. It was our DOP's Carl Pollard, who worked on Hollyoaks for a long time, and he's just absolutely brilliant.
And the sound as well, sorry, not to forget sound and editing. It really, what a team. Favourite moment, I think watching on the big screen is so great, and in this particular theatre, very comfortable chairs. Sorry, I know that's like such a small thing, but my God.
Feedback.
Yeah, no, seriously, guys, wow, that's actually a game changer, honestly. So actually, it relates to something you were saying about there's an Adele joke, did you say? And once you get to that point and you hear how it goes down, okay, I have a similar thing. And my favourite moment in watching STI is when the lipstick rolls and the character called Fanny is about to have a conversation with Will about why she's there and challenging him. That is my favourite part about watching the film, because I know when we get to that moment, we're on safe ground. I know that I can feel the audience relax, and it's just like, okay, we're good. We're good, and I love that. It's always funny, it's always great. She's brilliant. The editing is brilliant. I've got a lot of fond memories of editing that moment. It was one of the ones that fell really flat in the edit, which was very surprising to us, and we learned a lot about the importance of sound design in comedy and anything we can do in the visual language of the edit just to like punctuate that moment and help people realise that's a joke and like sort of guide them. So yeah, both on an experience point of view, but also the learning that went into that moment sits really good with me.
Final question, what are you both working on next?
As I mentioned a couple of days ago, I started submitting my next film, which is an experimental surrealist micro short called Fractured Frame that runs at the 5-minute 33. So that'll hopefully get its first selections and views in the next couple of months. I'm shooting, I'm producing and shooting a film in a couple of weeks called Grief Part 001, which is going to be beautiful and very moving. I'm post-production supervising on a friend of mine's short, which is shot in my home county of Norfolk, called Bubbles, which is very exciting. And we've got some applications out for some funding for some future things that I want to put into pre-production. So, yeah, just a few things.
That is amazing. I have almost nothing comparatively. I really admire that. I mean, I desperately want to be working on my next short, but I've been spending quite a lot of time thinking about what it's going to be. I'm in the early stages of a screenplay, and when I finish it, if I love it as much as I hope I will, then that will be the next short. But it's very much a work in progress. I work in video production for campaign videos for charities, so I do a lot of that at the moment. So that kind of keeps me going in terms of like directing and a certain amount of storytelling as well. But I'm really hoping to have a new short to be submitting by like second half of next year.
I think that's the difference between Fractured Frame, the micro short that I'm submitting with. I am a writer, director, actor on that, but the other ones I'm producing in various producing capacities, so it's definitely easier to be busier as a producer. If I was having to come up and pen and edit and whatever, all of those, that would never happen. So I think that's just a difference in the roles that we do on set.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're under 30s as well, right?
Yeah, well,
this is very under 30s energy, and it's very over 30s fatigue.
I actually just I just turned 30, and when there was a line in the dog documentary called Nowhere Safer, Nothing Safer, that one, that I related to when the woman said, now a workaholic, but I'm okay with that. Like, I'm a workaholic, I'm not sure I'm okay with that. But yeah.
Thank you both so much for submitting your film and coming here to represent it, talking to us, and asking all our questions.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, they're great. Both of them are fantastic shorts, and wish you luck with your future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can I have a round of applause, please?